5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello guys and girls, and welcome to episode 48 of the VR Inside podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on Nathies YouTube channel. You can tune into the show live at 7 PM in Europe, 6 PM in the UK and 12 midday in central US. If you missed the live show, you can catch up with the whole show as I re-upload it every Sunday to my own YouTube channel at Virtual Reality Oasis. Or you can check out the audio version, which is available on Google Play Music, iTunes, and on SoundCloud. So just a reminder that the show is rebranding, and in fact, this is the final episode of the show under the VR Inside name. So we'll be starting the show next week under the new name of F Reality, and we'll be continuing to broadcast at exactly the same time, so the same times as before, but on our new dedicated YouTube channel. So there is a link in the description down below, so if you like the show, go and subscribe to our new channel, and we'll see you there live on the 11th of August. But today, if you've got any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. If you're new to the show, let me introduce you to the team. First up, this guy's been trapped in a video game all week. In fact, he's been trapped in a Gear Kid console. It is, of course, our Nathie. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yes, I'm doing all right, and it's still hot. It still is.
Oh man, yeah, it's so hot today.
It's not VR weather. Let's say it like that.
No,
Maybe
no.
if it's winter, I will play a lot, but
yeah,
right
yeah.
now, like, you know what? No, thank you. Only when
Yeah.
it's a seated one. Seated ones are fine. Seated ones are okay-ish. If you put your feet in a bucket of water.
Yeah, so like, you know, in the future, if we ever complain of it being cold, just remind us of these days, and we'll be humble and we'll just shut up straight away. So next up, when he's not in VR, he's practicing to be a scooter stuntman. And that is, of course, Rowdy. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Hey, it's healing. Look.
Oh god damn!
Man.
Oh,
That looks so sore still. Is it painful still?
Nah, it's never been actually really painful. It's just like a little bit of a bruise. I mean, if I press on it, yeah, I can feel it, but that's about it. It's probably like the hip that is a little bit injured, but
have you been
you know,
telling
I'll
people
survive.
like
I survive.
a fake story? So, you know, like, oh yeah, I got into a fight and someone tried to punch me in the kidneys, and like,
Yeah. The funny thing was like, because I told it to Viper, I was like, oh Viper, like, you know, check this out, and I sent him like a picture, and he's like, oh, what is that? She's beating you, isn't she? He immediately assumed I was getting beaten up with my girlfriend, but
Nice.
nah, it's all right, you know. I actually love the thing. Like, I love scooting around on it. I'm taking it to work now, and everyone at work has already tried it. There's like 3 or 4 more people that want to buy it now as well. So yeah, I'm an influencer on all kinds of levels, you know.
Nice, man. Nice. Okay, so next up, he is the OG VR Twitch streamer. It is, of course, Zimtok5. How you doing, dude? You all right?
I needed like a hand sign for that. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Original and best, of course.
OG. Yeah, I was flashing my little Rift, the little Rift wipe that they give you with your
Yeah, I
like
saw that.
you get your DK1. There was one they shipped with the DK2 first batch in Europe. And it was known to scratch lenses. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that is not a good thing, right? So they canned the one that was gray, and they went to the one that was black. So I flashed out a little
But
bit.
it's cool they had the original, you know, Oculus logo. You know, the eye, teardrop type shape eye. Yeah,
You know,
really cool.
I was, little fun fact here, I was so adamantly against their logo change when they did. It was really funny. I was just like, I'm one of those people who, like, I don't know, I'm foundational, so I'm like, that's a good logo, don't move away from it. They went to their stadium logo, and of course it's brilliant now. I like it, I'm well behind it, but it took me a few months.
Cool. So, last but by no means least, myself, the host of the show, Mike, the bearded bald guy from Virtual Reality Oasis. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Mario Kart Arcade GP VR. I got to try it myself in London this week, and it was everything I wanted it to be, and I just need more in my life. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Pixel Ripped 1989, take a gaming trip down memory lane in this nostalgia-filled VR title. Then finally, we're going to be rounding it off with some talk about VR speedrunning, a gaming phenomenon that is completely insane in virtual reality, and I just had to talk about it. So I hope you guys and girls enjoy this one. But let's start off the show by talking about what we've played in the metaverse this week. So let's kick it over to Rowdy first to see what he's been up to.
Not much. I'm full on the renovations, so it's kind of hard for me to actually be playing games right now, because what I'm actually doing is this place here in the back. There's gonna be a wall in between here, so we're splitting up the living room. There's gonna be a bedroom, and this is gonna be the living room down where I'm sitting right now. And this entire computer and everything is going to move to the actual bedroom now. So they will have like I'll have like a small space for virtual reality, doing just the stuff that I want to do. So it'll be nice for me. Yeah, that's basically what I've been doing.
That's awesome.
my own Smeagol cave.
That's
and what
awesome.
I've played this week, the only thing I've actually played, I've played like a couple of more episodes for Marvel Powers United. I tried out some different heroes, but not much there to say, because the game it's just a different hero. I do like the heroes still, but the interesting thing is I've been playing it single player, not multiplayer, and it's exactly the same. Like it doesn't matter if you play with people, because you don't need the other people. No. Unless you're playing with friends and you want to act like a fool. The multiplayer is completely not necessary, which is quite funny, I think.
Yeah, it's just unchallenging in that aspect, right? You know, like you could easily solo it. So I'm intrigued to know, during the renovations of your pad and move into your own dedicated space, are you going to take the machine gun down from the ceiling, or is that going to stay?
No, it's staying. It's staying.
I'm going to miss that.
I actually have two now. Look, wait. I'll move it up a bit. Wait. There we go. There's another one.
This is
it's not from the right angle. Everyone in the chat always says, like, why is there a gun hanging from like Rowdy's ceiling?
It's like my icon. Like, it's my icon.
Yeah. No, it's cool that you've got your own dedicated space, right? Because then you're going to be able to record more and record at different times.
The only thing is it'll be smaller than the space that I have now, because now I'm doing it in the living room. It's like a lot of space. So I'm thinking the first couple of episodes that I'm recording, the first couple of weeks probably, I'm going to be smashing a lot of walls. I really think so.
Welcome to MinSpec, Rowdy. Welcome to MinSpec. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd recommend getting like one of those like proxy mats, you know, so you know exactly where you are at all times.
I got one of those. Wait, like I got this.
You did.
But. I don't really like I not like a proxima, but like something to like put over my back.
Yeah.
What is that? But
looks like I was gonna say, are you gonna put that on the floor and stand on it?
It's like
how do you wear that, Rowdy?
It's a
how
condom.
do you wear that?
That's a condom for your
life. Let me show. I'll get right back to that.
To say.
You basically put the controller in there, like here, and then this like goes over, and then it's pretty much done. I can show it actually, like. It's like going in there.
I feel like we need some like romantic music on in the background when you do this.
There's some education on a whole new level.
And pull it over.
This is Rowdy's wrapping up face.
Yeah, it's not complete because I need to get like the stuff out and that, but I don't really feel like doing that now.
Yeah, okay.
Is this like a
okay? See you in 10 minutes and
make sure it's tight on the top. You know, make sure it's tight on the top. Nothing is allowed to escape.
I was waiting for the Blue Peter moment where you said, this is one I prepared earlier, you know? Okay, nice one, dude. Nice one. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the new space, that's for sure. It'll be very cool.
Me as well.
So let's move it on then. Let's find out what Zim has been up to in the metaverse this week. What have you been playing, mate?
Scary. There's not much worse than horror games like Resident Evil and that, but I've been there. I often like to put myself into uncomfortable situations, and singing at the top of my lungs into Sing Space in the Oculus Go, cooperatively with my wife judging my singing Britney Spears. And recording that and posting that online for people to listen to. That's probably the worst flavor of horror game you could think of. That's what I was busy with this week, Mike.
Pure terror that sounds.
Yeah. The worst part is they incentivize you. It's like, oh, because you've got a level and you can level up by posting the thing. So it's like either you just record it and you have a laugh and whatever, or you post it and then someone can go listen to that later. So unfortunately now those recordings, if you've got an Oculus Go and you want to listen to me singing, you really don't. They're actually up there now.
So how does it stack up in terms of like a singing sort of game compared to like SingStar and the other sort of games available out there?
I can't say I do a lot of karaoke, Mike, but I am a big fan of Harmonix, the company behind like Dance Central. So like I was doing like the Kinect and Xbox 360 for ages. That's how I was like keeping fit in London, was just doing Dance Central indoors. But actually it's a very well designed game, but I haven't been able to figure out why. My wife had like 3 times the amount of songs that I did. We both kind of bought the app, but for some reason she got a bunch more than I did. And there's some good stuff on there, like Thrift Shop and stuff like that. It's not just all like pop. So if you are interested in, having a sing song, then that's not too bad. But you can do it with 4 friends. They seat them almost like summary chairs, and you like watch your friend embarrass themselves, and you rate them with like emojis and stuff, and at the end you throw like roses at them to rate how well they've done. And you can listen back to other people and rate them, and then there's leaderboards. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Online? Is that all online?
All online.
Oh, Mike, do you hear that?
Oh
Scary
my God,
plays
like,
with the podcast.
You guys have no idea how bad I am at karaoke. Like I've not got a singing voice at all.
That's why we need to try it. That's the exact
definitely
reason
should
why
do
we
this.
should try it.
We've been waiting.
Yeah,
for this.
And what concerns me is that every time I talk about karaoke, like Nathie is so up for it. It's like he's gonna hustle me. He's like been practicing or something.
Yeah, I was like, I was connected. Like, hey, should we do like not like going to a restaurant? No, like, hey, karaoke somewhere.
Oh God.
Nathie has like a different channel.
It's just the
on
most
YouTube
thing
doing
Seeing
SingStar karaoke.
Exactly, exactly. But seeing you guys sing and dance at the same time, like I can't. I don't want to miss that.
I've got the moves, but I just haven't got the voice. Like, put it that way.
It's the worst. It's the worst thing. I was introduced to my current team 7 years ago by they're like, oh, just come out to us. We'll do some bowling. We went out bowling. There was a dude doing karaoke. He was going to be like a future boss of mine, and he was like Frank Sinatra, for God's sakes. You don't go to a brand new team and embarrass yourself at karaoke and listen to your would-be boss like singing like Sinatra and hear you're sounding like an injured wolf. Anyway.
Yeah.
That was my week.
Just before we move on to Nathie to find out what he's played, I would just want to just be interested to know how you got on with Hellblade, because we're going to be touching on it very quickly in quick news. And I don't know how much you've played on it so far.
Finished it.
But did you enjoy the game?
Yeah. So I think Hellblade it's one of those games that people are going to rave about like crazy, and some people are going to feel swindled when they get into the game and find that the game mechanics are a little simple. It's an approachable game. Like it's kind of like Avatar as a film. Like Avatar as a film, you can go and see it. It's great sonically, it's great visually, but it's Pocahontas at the end of the day. It's not like the smartest thing ever. I kind of attribute Hellblade to that a little bit. So the visuals, amazing. The detail, actually doing it in VR, and when they letterbox you in to like watch a sequence and then you come back out again, and that I thought was going to be a problem. It actually ends up being a really cool mechanic because it resolves the problem of, I'm a cinematographer, I want you to look at this thing, right? Focus for a moment. And actually focus being a key mechanic in the whole thing was really a benefit to the game. So I don't want to say anything more about it. As you said, we're going to touch on it. I think it's definitely worth the money that it's going for right now, and to me it's a must play.
Cool. Yeah, I totally agree. I haven't even like tried it in VR yet, but the pancake game, I really enjoyed. It took about 7 hours to 100% it, and we're going to touch on it very quickly in quick news in a bit as well. So, Nathie, what have you been playing this week in VR then, dude?
I haven't been playing that much. I played Marvel United Powers as well.
What? Wait a minute. You're like a full-time VR YouTuber. Like, what's going on here?
What?
I mean, I'm still playing it because it's like a hype right now. People want to see it, and I'm just catering to that. But again, the heroes are amazing, but the game mode is so boring. Like, I played this for 11 hours right now.
Holy
God.
It's
just like I don't know if I can do it anymore. It's like I just need to kind of show off some heroes, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
Then let's hope for a good DLC. But next to that, I played Pixel Ripped. We will soon talk about that anyway. Yeah. So instead, let me just show you my virtual boy.
Oh.
I have right over here.
Look at that, retro.
For my intro for Pixel Ripped, but it's just, it still works fine. It's like a new one too. Like I imported it from Japan, so it's cool.
Nice.
I like the games you can play on there, like the Wario
What games have you got?
One. I think I have Wario Land, the tennis game, of course, and there's one in here right now that I don't really know what it is. Can I pull it out? Like, when you have a Nintendo system, you usually can't really...
How do you record from it?
Oh, this is... you can't. Like, yeah, you could, in a way, maybe put your camera inside the lenses, but this is the game. It's, I can't even read it. It's like a Is this like a
Oh man, I
baseball
miss
game?
those cartridges.
Oh wow! I
Is-
don't even know what that is.
Is that a baseball game or what is
Yeah,
that?
it's like a baseball game.
Yeah,
with,
I recognize it.
with
Ooh.
bees or
You
something.
remember when you had your old Game Boy and you put those cartridges in the back and your screen was like flickering sometimes, so you had to get it out and like
Blow.
go like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I miss blowing cartridges. I
They
miss
always said
doing
it
that.
wasn't good for the cartridges, right? To do it. So,
Ah,
Really?
no, those cartridges you could put them in the oven, it would still work.
it
You know.
smells. It
Do you-
smells funny though.
The only thing you have to worry about those cartridges, they often have a battery save. So after a certain like number of years, the battery goes, and then your save file it won't hold a save game. Then that's the only problem with
But
cartridges.
seriously though,
really?
why can't we have a controller like this for the Rift or the Vive? I mean, look at this.
No, it looks
With the
hideous.
wire.
fucking
With the
weird.
wire.
Yeah.
But interestingly, you know, you've got the Virtual Boy there, and not many people tried the Virtual Boy, especially in Europe, because it never actually released in Europe. You had to import one.
What really?
Because it was a huge flop. You know, sold like the worst in any console release in history, actually.
But it sold
And was
4
only
units, Mike.
Well, you know, it was only around for about a year or less
Yeah,
even
it was
before it
awful.
actually died. So many people didn't get to try it out, and now that we've got like consumer VR headsets, we've got the Go, we've got the Rift, the Vive. You know, you can actually emulate the Virtual Boy, and I did a video
We
last
can
week.
finally experience the flop.
Yeah, well, you can. Because interestingly, although the hardware was bad, like the Wario game was actually kind of pretty cool. It was the best game for the system. And if you never had the opportunity to check it out, well, you can if you want to go. You have to sideload the emulator. Same with the Rift. There's an emulator called VBGin that works on Vive as well, and then you can experience these games in full VR,
There's
and
actually-
your eyes won't bleed. Which is
There's
really nice
actually
as
an
well.
easier way, Mike, that some smart coder behind, if you know Janus VR, Janus VR is a little bit like AltSpace. They had a working emulator for all of those titles actually back in 2014 even. And recently I went back and checked it out. So that works as well if you don't want to bother with software configuration.
Because that's all browser based, right?
Yes, exactly. So it must have been some kind of, I'm trying to think of how they did it, but it must have been just a tie hook back to some services running out of server somewhere.
Yeah, interestingly, you mentioned Janus though, because I don't think it did particularly well on the Go release that's come out just recently. I know a lot of people have been angry about it. I haven't had a chance to check it out myself, but I don't know if you know why.
No, I don't know why. I saw the same kind of rage going. But Janus, when I tried it about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, it was worse performing than it was in 2014 when I played it a lot. So
Maybe someone in the chat knows what is causing
Yeah.
it.
good call.
Feel free
Ask
to let
chat.
us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be intrigued to know because I saw a lot of people were panning it, so I'd be intrigued to know. But this week I'm going to be talking about Archa's Path because I went to the studio of Dream Reality Interactive in London this week. So whilst I went and checked out Mario Kart, I thought it'd be cool to meet up with the dev as well. And Dream Reality Interactive was the dev that I decided to go and see. And I got to meet up with Dave Ranyard and the team there checking out their upcoming game Archa's Path, which is being published by Rebellion. If you're not aware of the game, it's kind of a very sort of simple game in terms of like you just control a ball with your head. You don't need a controller or anything like that. It's kind of got like an interesting story around it though. You know, you've got this girl that lives on a scrapyard. She's kind of a down and out, sort of everyone's kind of poor. She finds this mysterious mask and she puts it on and then she's transported and embodied into this ball, which you can then control. And the whole idea of the game is to find your way out of Archa, which is this mysterious world, hence the name Archa's Path.
Is it like Super Monkey Ball? The way you described it, it sounds like Super
yeah.
Monkey Ball.
Yeah, very similar in that sort of sense, but less arcadey, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of what I sort of said when I played the game, because I played the first 2 levels in the studio, played it on the Rift, by the way, and I thought it was really nice to control the ball with your head. So it was kind of very relaxing and kind of chill game to play. The music, the art style, everything was really great. So I had the concern, and I sort of asked Dave, the head of the team, sort of how do you it's a very accessible to casual players, but how do you sort of make it interesting for the core players? Because we're hardcore gamers, you know, we've played a lot of games. How do you make it interesting for us? And he said, well, don't worry, the game does actually ramp up in difficulty later on. It does get a lot more challenging. There's a lot more stuff going on, and the art style does drastically change, and things get a bit more sort of, dark and dingy, we might say. So there is going to be some more interesting and challenging elements later on in the game. But for you know, from what I played, it looks very promising, and I like the fact that they've developed the game from the ground up for cross-platform. So it's going to be on Rift, Vive, PSVR, Oculus Go, and any other headset they can possibly get their hands on. So
it is single player though, right? There's no multiplayer.
Yeah, single player, absolutely.
Yeah.
But do you also like, because I tried it at E3, do you think that this is a game that is going to be more popular on a go? And because I had the feeling like I like maze, like marble runners in a way, but I felt like I need to control my head, so I prefer to play other games at this moment. But do you think this will do well on every platform, or especially on the standalone side of things?
I think on Go it will be way more interesting, because I really wanted to try out the Go version, because I know a lot of people are interested in the Go version of the game because it suits the Go perfectly. You know, the controller on the Go is a little bit limited for gaming unless you buy a gamepad, and that kind of defeats the object. But it works perfectly for that gaze type sort of game. So I was really intrigued about the Go version, and I just really hope they don't have the same issue that is it called Nog had just recently on the Go, because Nog is a puzzle game made by Double Fine. It works really well on the Rift, but when you play it on the Go, it's very pixelated and doesn't sort of transfer very well to that headset. So I was kind of a bit concerned, but I really hope they can pull it out of the bag, because I think it will be a really solid release for the Go. And in terms of Go releases, we've only really got Archa's Path and Covert as sort of some big upcoming games to look forward to. So, yeah, I'm interested in it.
Nothing else?
Nothing else that anyone's telling us about.
I'm like hungry for more Go content. Where is it?
You could always go back and play Hero Bound. That's the one I keep going back to just recently, and I mentioned it last week.
There's actually another one, Mike. There's 3 on the Go.
Okay.
I just checked them out. So there's the multiplayer one, and then there's 2 different single-player ones.
Are you talking about Hero Bound?
Yeah. So that's mad. That's mad.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you know, I'm excited about Archa's Path. I think it's going to be a cool, chill game to play, and yeah, an exciting one to check out on the Go. They'll be coming out later on in this year, so if you're interested in that, you can go check it out.
I got a question for you in chat, Mike, just on the relation to that game. So something that I've noticed, and you just mentioned it, is when you go to a title, sometimes the title that was developed for, which platform it was developed on, it could even be Vive versus Rift, it could be Go versus, you know, Rift. Is there an inventory of that anywhere?
Which shows which platforms they're all available on?
No, not all available on, but like the one, the initial one, the one that it was developed for, because that would be great. It sounds like something Reddit would come up with, but I don't know, chat, if any of you have that source.
It was originally developed for Rift, and now it's available on Go.
Exactly.
Yeah. I see your point, but this game was developed across all platforms simultaneously, because it was always their vision to have it across platforms.
That's good.
He said, you know, not only because we decided to make it accessible with removing the controller, it made sense financially as well to have it available on every platform.
Yeah, so. It's rare though, because mostly they usually leapfrog. They develop for one platform and then they hop it to other places.
I mean, Rebellion is backing this, so it's not really a problem.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, Dave, you know, Ranyard, the head of the team, he's got some pedigree with Sony. He was involved in PlayStation VR Worlds. He was also involved in the game The Getaway on the original PlayStation. I don't know if you remember that one. So he's got some really gaming pedigree. But yeah, he has friends at Rebellion, being in the biz for so long. So that's kind of how that relationship came about.
Cool.
But yeah, it was cool to hang out with them, find out more about them as a team. They also work with David Attenborough as well on a really cool project using volumetric video capture. It was kind of interesting as well, and that's available on Rift if you're interested.
So David Attenborough, the nature guy.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
The nature guy?
Come on. Yes, he's the nature guy. He's the voice of nature.
He's got a bit more credentials than the nature guy.
Well, if Bill Nye is the science guy, then surely David Attenborough is the nature guy. I stand by mine.
Interestingly, like, you know, from the experience they made, you go into a museum and you sit opposite the nature guy, and he tells you all about like whales and stuff like that, and he tells it in his special way that he does. You know, so yeah, like you just can't help but get drawn into the whole world when he starts talking, that guy. So it was super fascinating. So yeah, it was a great little trip.
Cool.
But yeah, we'll be talking more about Mario Kart later on. Obviously, that was the other half of the trip from London. But let's get into some quick news first. And first up is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is on sale. So, like we just talked about with Zim, you know, he's been playing that game this week. If you're interested in checking this game out, which we urge you to check out if you've got a VR headset, and it's a bit of a dry season right now, let's be honest about it. So if you're interested in a game to check out, it is like a seated experience where you just use a controller or the touch controllers. But the developers Ninja Theory recently added the VR support to the game. But the interesting thing is you can pick up this game for 40% off this weekend, and it's available on Humble Bundle. humblebundle.com. If you're sort of an OG gamer, you'll know of humblebundle.com. You can get some really cool discounts over there. But it's available for $14.99 in British pounds right now, $17.99 in US dollars. And if you buy the game, you basically get the standard game and the VR edition as well. So, you know, it's ideal. Even if you don't have a VR headset, you can go and check it out.
Such a good price for that as well. And it's only available, I think, for 2 days, so hop on it.
Yes, absolutely. And while we're talking about decent sales as well, this weekend also, Killing Floor Incursion on Steam is available for 67% off. It's still regarded as one of the best sort of zombie games in VR right now, alongside sort of Arizona Sunshine. Me and Nathie played it again just recently, jumping into co-op, and I really love the co-op in Killing Floor. And there's an awesome sniper level as well that you should totally check out if you haven't had the opportunity to. But it's super cheap. It's £6.66,
Wow.
or $10 US. 66.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And also, this week, the devs added a new map to their holdout mode, which is a survival mode called Crucible, and they've also added Windows Mixed Reality support. So if you've got a Windows Mixed Reality headset, now's the best time to jump in, because not only can you get it super cheap, but now it's going to work flawlessly with your headset as well. So that is that.
Nice.
And then the final sort of discounted game we're going to be talking about is Here They Lie. Now, if you own a PSVR and you also have a PlayStation Plus account, you're going to rejoice, as you're going to be able to get this game for free. So it's super cheap. So cheap it's free. So from the 7th of August to the 2nd of October, you've got a 2-month window to add this game to your library, and it will remain there as long as you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber.
This one came out like 2 years ago, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It was like a PSVR launch title.
Like one of the first horror games on the PlayStation VR.
Yeah, before Resident Evil existed. Yeah, you could play this game.
Blew it out of the water. Yeah,
exactly.
I liked it. I mean, I think we should just talk about it for a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's the kind of game that I think is the perfect price at free. The reason I say it is a lot of people, I think, will react to the game. It's very much a headfuck game. It's like, there's, you know, if you want to walk along corridors and see weird, disturbing scenes, it's a whole reflection on like humankind in the negative light. And there's a lot of trickery that they do with shadows and lighting that's just nice to see in VR. And as a starter title, a lot of people said it was one of those very contentious titles. People either liked it or hated it. It was very much a Marmite VR title, and I think it's probably the same between us. Like, I liked the game. I enjoyed going through it. It was worth playing through it. It was a bit tedious, and I think the story in the game is kind of naff. It's probably not worth the playtime, but the experience and trying to get the kind of poetic message that the game's trying to send you is worth the price tag of free. So if you are a PS Plus person, then, you know, spend the time downloading it, I'd say, and then play it when you get a chance.
I think the reactions will be different now. Now it's free, actually.
Yeah.
Instead of, because when you had to buy it, I was like, well, the start was kind of interesting, got me curious, and then after I was like, okay, now we're like, oh, I can't play more of this, and especially with the PlayStation VR, I was like, okay, I don't know how long I can keep doing this. You know, like, feed me with more. Like, if a game feeds you at the right moment, you can keep playing it forever. But this one was sometimes like, I felt lost. I was like, where the heck am I? What is this? And like, it was scary.
Yeah, that
sometimes
was
it wasn't.
my feeling the entire time. Like, what is this?
What is this? What is this?
What is this?
But I do have to say the art style was like beautiful. Like the way you had to like walk around and all the scenery, amazing.
It felt like they had like a filter over it or something, though. It felt really
grainy,
blurry and grainy. Like, I didn't like that in virtual reality. It felt like, I don't know, like the resolution on PlayStation is already a little bit less, but then with that grainy feel over it, it felt like, you know, something that was really just not well done.
I thought like the graphics and everything too was kind of like smooshy, you know, like a little, you know, faded out. And like, usually if you make a game that is in black and white, it's a challenge to, you know, keep it interesting. They did have some bright colors in there to keep you focused. You can even see yourself in the mirror. Have you ever seen who you played?
Yes.
You're the most handsome man.
Oh, God.
Ever.
That is, I'm not even going to comment on it, because that is a worthwhile thing that is about midway through the game when you finally get to see who you are. And if you compare yourself against the lady you're with, you know how there's that, you know, 1 to 10 scale? Let's just say they are significantly different. That's all I'm going to say.
He was punching well above his weight.
Was that
above.
only in the middle of the game? I thought you had like already a mirror in the like fairly in the beginning.
At the start.
I might be thinking about a sequence that comes very late in the game, Rowdy, and forgetting the beginning. So
Okay.
more stuff happens. Did you beat it, or you probably gave up on it? I'd imagine.
I
Weird, but I did see some gameplay. There are moments where I was like, why didn't I see this? Why didn't I play
There's some amazing stuff later. It's one of those games that I have to say, if you stick through it, the visuals and what comes later is rewarding. The story won't necessarily reward you, but the kind of visual trickery does.
I remember Angry Joe playing that game as well on his channel, and he hated that.
He hated it so much.
He hated it so bad. Yeah.
But he is Angry Joe after all, so
Yes,
you know,
yes.
if you didn't hate it, then I'd be
He should play
disappointed.
some more VR. I mean, I haven't seen him doing some VR stuff in a while, so maybe he should come back. Like I've seen a lot of actual like big channels promote or review VR at the start, but now there's so much more out there that is way more interesting. I'm like, come back and try.
We've got to hold the fort.
It's our job.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we are the gatekeepers. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. So
Wait, we got a comment in the chat from Spammels, who's also a VR YouTuber. Has it been said before that Zimtalk looks a little like Hans Gruber from Die Hard?
Hans Gruber? Da?
Hans Gruber, yeah, you do look a little German though. Like you could be like someone that sells like Bratwurst in like a little stand somewhere.
Brilliant.
I get told I look like so many people. I don't know. I've just got one of those faces.
yeah.
But still, you look the most like. Who is it
Tom
again,
Green?
Nathy?
Tom Green?
Yeah, Tom Green.
I'm not gonna sing
that
it.
guy.
I can see Mike wants to
But
move on.
now we've got Tom Green is going to give us a set of Corsa news.
Oh yes, so
because you're going to talk to us about the racing simulator, right?
yes, the title that anyone here I would dare try to pronounce. It's Competizione, which is the upcoming new version of Assetto Corsa. We were kind of hoping for Assetto Corsa 2. And they ended up branding a GT series racing game called Assetto Corsa Competizione, which means it's going to be just in GT cars, really kind of fast cars on a track. You're not going to have kind of open wheel cars or anything like that. And the thing that really disappointed me, and I'd done a reaction video on this really early on, was when they launched the news about this new title on this big kind of drummed up announcement, they said nothing about VR. And the website which was promoting this had VR stripped from it about 5 hours before they made the announcement. So they're like, yeah, let's not promise VR. Don't promise that. There was a big outcry from the community asking for it because Assetto Corsa fans and Project Kart 2 fans, etc., they just want another racing game in VR, of course. This game promises things like nighttime driving, full real-time weather effects, 24-hour races with full-on, weather cycles and day and night cycles throughout. So there's a lot of kind of complex sim going into this. This game now is coming out on the 12th of September, and the VR mode is going to come out on the 10th of October. So that's really good news for us. But I'd also say this is going into early access. You're actually starting off with, I think it's like one track and either a handful of cars or one car. It's very limited at the start, but this isn't abnormal. This is the way they've developed in the past, and then they kind of just do chunked releases going forward. So VR is coming. How kind of, I'm a big race guy. How excited am I? Again, it's just a GT race, so I'm not super excited myself. I like racing kind of all different types. I'm hoping they'll extend, but I don't think under this title they will. So we'll have to wait and see how good it is.
So talking about like burning rubber, what Tauk says, I want F1 2018 in VR, but that ain't happening. Is there like any F1 thing happening at all?
Still, your best bet is to pick up original Assetto Corsa or Project Cars 2. It's really about a feeling in the game.
Jumping into the VR market, like this is a huge like
huge thing.
Huge thing. F1.
No, it's enormous. I mean, it's funny because I was demonstrating my Oculus Go when I was back in Ireland a couple of months ago, and I have an aunt and uncle who are big into F1, and the first thing she asked me was, she's like, "Can you do VR in F1?" And I was like, "Oh boy, you can." But no, there's no new titles supporting F1 that I'm aware of. Nothing on PlayStation, nothing on PC VR. So have to wait and see.
Shame.
It is a shame.
And interestingly, how do you play Assetto Corsa now then if there doesn't have official VR support?
So no, Assetto Corsa does have Assetto VR support formally.
Right.
Then there's a couple of different launchers that you can use to get into the game. But no, base Assetto Corsa, if you pick it up, it's only a couple of pounds. You can play it. And a lot of people will, there's like mod cars, mod tracks. You can actually totally mod the game up. And this is my biggest issue with the new title. It's not going to have mod support so far as what they've said. So consider that they come out with a new like Elder Scrolls and they say, guess what, guys? No mod support. How would you react to that?
Yeah, it kind of sucks.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and just thinking about like F1, and I know that one of the people in the chat asked about it. What I did see recently, I think it was HTC that was showing it off, was that they've got this robo race car, right? And they set up a demo where they actually put the robo race car around a track, and that thing is like freaking ridiculously fast. They filmed the whole thing with a 360 camera, and then what they did was they had a replica robo car. You can lie on it on a bed that moves around and put a headset on with a wind machine and actually experience what it's like to be in the seat. And I was like, oh my god, that is like a vomit simulator right there.
Wow.
So if you're at an event, maybe you can check that out.
The closest thing I saw was probably Kent by, struggling in this the bird simulator.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
That was hilarious.
That was brilliant.
You think that's fast? Go to that one theme park in VR chat.
Oh no, man, yeah, don't do yourself. So the last bit of quick news this week, just rounding this one up, talking about games that are releasing next week. I kind of want to add this to our sort of be a regular feature because I think it's interesting to know the titles that are coming out because some of them kind of get whispered around and you never really hear about them being released. But this is a big one, and this is Electronauts. Servios, the developers behind Raw Data, Sprint Vector, and the upcoming game Creed Rise to Glory are releasing Electronauts next week, Tuesday the 7th of August. Now, if you're not familiar with the game, it's a music creation game where you can DJ and mix tracks in real time, tracks like from the Chainsmokers, Steve Aoki, and Tiesto. And the cool thing is you can actually invite a friend and DJ together and kind of mix it up in real life and have like a DJ jam-off session.
Wow.
Which is kind of cool. The game's going to be available on Rift, Vive, and PSVR. It's available for $14.99 in British pounds, $19.99 in US dollars, and it's $17.99 on PSVR, so it's a little bit cheaper on PSVR.
Servios is pooping out VR games. It's crazy.
Yeah, but this one looks very, very cool, and it's got some like huge artists behind it. And from what I've seen,
all of them look really good. Huh? I mean, Raw Data looked really good. Sprint Factor also did. So, yeah. And the thing is with this one, like when you mix it, even if you're not very good with the timing and stuff, the game actually helps you out. So it makes you look more pro than you actually are. Kind of puts it all in time with the beat. So I've seen some really cool mixed reality videos of this as well. So if you really want to sort of be that DJ in VR, then you can create some really cool videos as well if you're interested. So. Also, in the chat they're saying that's probably the reason also why it's cheaper on the PSVR, that there is no multiplayer on the PlayStation VR, and another person, JD Max, said that there was no co-op with the PSVR version.
Right.
So that's probably explaining why there's no
but there is a Survivor mixed reality mode. Or not on PlayStation, but on but that would be kind of interesting to have like a mixed reality setup for the PlayStation. Maybe the next PlayStation, who knows?
It's funny because I did a mixed reality guide a little while ago, and so many people have asked for a PSVR Beat Saber mixed reality guide. I'm like, dude, it's like you just can't do that right now.
You can fake one. Like you buy like an old PlayStation VR and you get everything out of it, and you put like your Rift in there, and then you just fake the whole thing, you know?
Viral video. There you go.
Or you just record the game twice, one time with the PlayStation, one time with the Oculus.
Yeah, you could do that as well. You could do that as well.
Playing like every PC game with a PlayStation VR suddenly. Yeah. Like, hey, I'm playing Marvel Powers United with a PlayStation VR. It's not out, you know?
You just trigger everyone. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to one of our main topics this week, and that is Mario Kart in VR. So, like I mentioned earlier on, I got to travel to London this week, meet the devs from Archa's Path, but also go to a launch event for Mario Kart Arcade GP VR in London. So the VR Zone portal in London literally just opened up. It was only available for press the day I went, but now is available to the public. So if you're interested in checking it out, just go over to the O2, which is in the center of London. And they've got a Hollywood Bowl within the O2. So it's like a bowling alley, but they've got an arcade attached to it. And now they've got this VR part of the arcade. So it's exactly the same experience that is being shown from Shinjuku, which was the one that was originally launched in Tokyo. So it's exactly the same setup with the 4 carts. And basically you've got like a full racing seat, steering wheel, pedals, HTC Vive headset, and then on your hands you wear the HTC Vive puck trackers. So you then get sort of a pair of headphones put on your head with a microphone so you can talk to your sort of buddies in the other carts. And each cart is sort of hard assigned to a character. So you've got 4 characters to choose from: Mario, Luigi, Peach, and my favorite, Yoshi. So you choose your character, jump in, get strapped up, and then you start the race off. And you just basically race around a single racetrack, which kind of takes some of like the most iconic tracks from Mario Kart and mixes them all into one track. So you've got bits with like bombs, you've got bits of piranha sort of plants, and that kind of thing, bullet bills, that kind of thing, all mixed into one track. And it lasts about 5 minutes, so it's relatively short. But overall, in terms of the experience, I thought it was awesome. Like the immersion of the whole thing, like with the seat moving, the steering wheel, being able to see your hands fully tracked, and then reaching out for a banana or a shell and physically throwing it at your colleagues that are racing was just so good. It was just so well done. So if you're in the London area, I would definitely say, you know, go and check it out. It is going to be there like as a permanent feature now, so you don't have to worry about it being timed or anything and disappearing. And I'm sure they'll probably roll this out to other VR arcades around the country as well. But right now it's just Tokyo and London that have this particular game. But the one thing that I did kind of notice, because obviously kind of being a VR veteran, we've played a lot of VR titles, we've pushed our limits in terms of VR sickness. Some people that were very new to it were sort of saying they were starting to feel a little bit nauseous, and they kind of felt like 5 minutes was maybe enough for them. For me, I was just like, nah, I just want more. Like, I'd like, just keep me strapped in, I'm gonna go again. So people were complaining a little bit, but it is really intense, you know. Like if you've ever played a racing simulator in VR, it's an intense experience. And I remember trying Dirt Rally like back in the day, like I was like, whoa, this is pretty crazy. But I think because the seat moves with the Mario Kart one, it does help.
I actually had the same experience the past weekend, because I went to an amusement park with a few of my colleagues, and there were like 2 virtual reality roller coasters there. And of course, you know, they were like, oh, you need to go and try this, you need to go and try this. I said, okay, I'll go and try it, but you're all coming with me. And everyone went with me. And I came out of there, you know, I was like, oh yeah, it was fun, you know. And the other ones took their headset out, they were like, oh, no, it's a bit too much for me. You know, they're already like feeling a little bit nauseous when they take like a regular roller coaster. They took those ones in VR, which go like 3 or 4 times the speed. At least it looks like you're going 3 or 4 times the speed. They were not well at all. They were not well. For me, it was also like, oh yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
That's hard, right? Like this is hard news to swallow, because you know, like we're 4 or 5 years down the track now, and we still have this problem. Like the majority of people who don't go into VR a lot have this problem, and it's like, for people who say sim sickness isn't a thing, it's like it is.
No, but it is a thing. But there's also a thing. People get sick on a boat still. People get sick on a car. And there are people that get sick on the train. So motion sickness is not something that's going to get eliminated, but it can be reduced by using certain things.
But what is it like? So I'm asking both of you guys. So what was it? Do you think it was frame rate? Do you think it was just the intensity, the motion? Like, I'm curious, what do you think was the trigger?
So there's no comfort settings, you know. It's just full. You get in the full display. You know, some games try to limit the view with a visor or a helmet or something like that. There's none of that. Like, it's just you get the full view. The frame rate is perfect, by the way. You know, like it runs flawlessly.
Nice.
But it's just intense. You know, it is an intense experience.
Like usually it's the speed in combination with like the motion, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. For me, the good thing they did, of course, was that the roller coaster follows the track of what you're seeing in virtual reality. So that's a good thing. So the movements that you're getting are basically the same movements as you would see in virtual reality. The other thing was the frame rate was not good for them. It was definitely not 60 frames per second. It was maybe 30. Wow. They did it with like those Gear VRs. They were smoking hot, because I touched them as well on the top. Smoking hot. You know, they've been using them probably already the entire day. It could not pull it. They could not pull it. Simple as. And then the other thing also, like, you know, the impression of speed, because of course they speed those things up and like everything is shaking, exploding, and people already get sick in roller coasters, you know, just in general. But that is like really like, you know, 5 levels higher. Like the amount of movement and experience that you're getting is so much more, and that is definitely what it's. And they will keep on getting sick even if they go and do it every week now.
So interestingly, like I went to Florida a year ago, and you know, I'd been doing a fair amount of VR prior to going. And there were some experiences that I tried that were like, I don't know if you're aware, but they've got like a Simpsons ride where you're in a cart and they've got like a 3 or a 180 screen in front of you and the car moves with the screen.
Yeah.
But that made me feel super sick. And what I put it down to was that I was so used to the frame rate of the Rift being 90 and being consistent and everything being smooth, that because it didn't quite run that fast, or there was a disconnect between the motion and what was going on the screen, that made me feel sick. Whereas my wife, she was fine, because I was so like trained onto like the consumer VR.
The good stuff.
That it just put
So
me
it's
up. It
harder
just
to adapt to like a lower frame rate than someone else
think so.
that did it for the first time.
I think so, yeah, because I think if I tried that Gear VR one that you were just talking about, Rowdy, with the lower frame rate, like 30 frames, I just think that would really throw me off now, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, the 2 people I went with, they were already, no, I went with 5 of them, but 2 of those 5 were already sick going into like the speedy bop, which doesn't even like go over happen. It's just like something that like goes around. So they get sick and everything. The other 2 that got sick were more because of the frame rate, I think.
I really wonder if you go to all kinds of amusement parks, like the low level ones, high level ones, you know, like Disney and Universal, like will the quality change, you know? Because there are so many theme parks that use this technology. I can remember that like a Legoland also in like Florida is using a like VR coaster now. So I wonder, like maybe it's also because some of them don't have the money to actually buy like more proper technology, or they don't know where to get it from in the first place.
Yeah, like the best ones right now are like the Void, and I'd also recommend this Mario one, of course. You know, just be aware that if you're susceptible to motion sickness, you might struggle a bit. You could always stop.
I mean, if you're sick for 5 minutes, it's like a short one. Like if you are sick for like 20 minutes, I don't know if that's worse, but
you won't make it out, mate. You'll just hurl. Mike, what was the price of this?
Yeah. So it's $7.99, so it's quite expensive for a 5-minute experience, but it is totally worth it. And I have to send the experience twice. It just makes me want to have it in my house. Like, I've never really been a sim racing fan. You know, I've never really been that intrigued about getting a wheel or a seat or anything. If Mario Kart came out on the HTC Vive, then I would be out buying a seat and a steering wheel in a heartbeat, and I would absolutely love to play it at home.
Here at Nintendo, there is actually like, you know,
yeah.
We need a consumer product.
We need a consumer product.
We need
more
like
tracks.
a Boy 2.0.
I don't know. It's a lot of equipment, though. I mean, you have to be in the like the garage band of like I want the guitar and the plastic drums and the, you know, there's so many things.
You just have a simple steering wheel and you can play this game on Steam, and there are like different levels and Nintendo is involved, or like that. That's fine. I mean, that would be cool.
Yeah, but that was the thing that I walked away with. You know, just the feeling that I want more of this, and I just want it in my house. I don't want to have to travel to London to experience this again. However, I will be going next week to meet up with Nathies' brother because he's coming over. So
there's another, like you can like
it's gonna be like a weekly event. Like, need to go to London again.
yeah, let's go again. No, but I think there is another experience that they introduced there, because there was like Mario Kart, but also something like kind of like Resident Evil, Silent Hill. Yeah, a wheelchair, right? Is it some kind of wheelchair?
Yeah, so it's like a Hospital Escape Terror, I think it's called.
Best name ever.
Yeah,
what a name.
they weren't demoing that though. It wasn't open, so I couldn't check it out that day. But yeah, hopefully when me and David go next week, which is on Wednesday, then hopefully we can check it out together. Maybe escape from a mental asylum together. So that'd be fun.
I want to see a security camera with you two like embracing, just like hugging each other in the dark and with headsets.
Sitting on one wheelchair together, holding each other. Yeah. But like when you start talking about this Mario Kart thing, the funny part is that you said like Yoshi is your favorite character. I kind of feel like your personality is the same as Yoshi. You're kind of like a Yoshi for me.
Yeah.
What are you guys like? What character is your favorite?
Toadstool,
like,
all the way.
You're like a little toad.
Yeah.
And Rowdy, I think Rowdy is more like a
Wario.
A Wario.
Or Bowser.
Oh, come on, what is it? What's your
Bowser?
Are you Bowser?
I don't know. I just pick whatever one. I just pick a different one every time.
Yeah, that's
I like one of those different ones.
It's like one of those Mii characters, you know.
Yeah.
Driving in a race. And mine is like totally Waluigi, man. Like that's.
Luigi. Nice. So there we have it. That is Mario Kart. I'd love to know in the chat as well, like if you're interested.
Yeah, let us know in the chat. What kind of, I already see people. I'm Princess Peach. What Took says. Dr. Oculus VR says I'm Toad all the way.
Oh yeah,
David says,
Toad Brothers.
See you next week, Mike. I'm gonna kick your ass.
Oh, some smack talk already. Yeah. Well, we'll see you there. See you at the finish line, McFly.
Slowpoke.
Yeah. So let's move on to our second bit of main sort of topic this week, and that is Pixel Ripped 1989. So that actually came out this week on Oculus Vive and PSVR. I think across the board, like, it's done pretty well. Everyone said it's a pretty decent game. Everyone's kind of enjoying their time with it. Me and Nathy reviewed it. We both enjoyed it. If you're not aware of the title, it's a seated single-player experience where ideally you use a gamepad, or if you've got a Rift, you can use the touch controllers. But the game pays homage to like the early days of gaming. You sort of embark on a journey into the screen of like a Game Boy style console, and it's kind of like a game within a game. So like, to give you an example, you're in a classroom, you want to play your Game Boy, and which is difficult. The game itself is challenging, and then you've got a teacher that is like patrolling the classroom, trying to catch you out when you're trying to play your game. And if you get busted, then you lose a life, and then ultimately you can game over for getting caught too many times. So it's kind of like that kind of layer of game inception, which is kind of fun.
Nice.
But it's actually been in development for about 4 years. It was originally a demo on Oculus Share, kind of a student project from Ana Ribeiro. She actually teamed up with Avalray, which is a publishing studio in Sao Paulo. They sort of teamed up to finish the game together, and they published it together, and it's finally come out this week. So it's really cool that it's finally out. But yeah, so everyone will sort of really know the struggle of day-to-day life. You just want to play games all day, but life gets in the way. And this kind of game uses that as a game mechanic, which is really interesting. But the thing about this game is that, like the games of olden days, it's hard as balls. It is challenging. Like, it is so challenging. I don't know if you guys have finished it or played much of it, Zim or Rowdy.
I haven't been able to play it yet. I do see people in the chat saying that someone already found all 20 gold cartridges.
Well, yeah, actually, Sad Gamer Dad was the one that did it, and as a reward, he will actually be in the game now. So he's going to be in the game on a magazine.
Congrats!
He's going to be my neighbor.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Nathy's in the game as well.
I am in the game, dude. Like, I'm in the actual game, and my famous quotes are in there. And you can just chill, and it's fun. It's really cool. Like, it's an honor that I'm in there, by the way. But it's been like such a long adventure too. Like, the first time I played it was 4 years ago with my DK2. But from my side, like, I really liked it. It didn't change that much compared to the demo. At least the demo was like only the classroom, and you had to trigger events to distract the teacher. And now there are more levels to it. But it gives me that old school feeling of not only old school retro, but also old school DK2, where this is like a pure like Oculus Share. Like, Oculus Share had a certain genre to it, I think. That I just love to play. It's not the best VR game out there. It's not the worst one. It feels arcadey, and not only a retro way, but also in the good old VR days. That's how I felt about it.
Yeah. But like, if you remember, if you had a Game Boy as a kid, you will get something out of this in terms of like the nostalgia, because it's got levels which kind of harken to like Balloon Kid. It's got some ghouls and goblins in there. It's a bit Metroid-y. It's got a bit of everything in there. It's got a bit of sort of like Duck Hunt style shooting as well when you're in the playground. And there's like all these pigeons around, but when you look through the Gear Kit, which is the console, they look like little dragons, and you have to shoot them. So it's got a bit of everything. And what the game does really well is when it combines the pixel art of the game world and the virtual world around you, and they combine. So like sprite pixels come out into the virtual world around you, and it just mixes in such a nice way with like the sort of classic gaming sounds as well, that it just works so well. And
it's based on such a beautiful story too. Like, the story is about an actual thing that happened, right?
Yeah, like the developer, she grew up with boys, and while her brothers were away, she would try and play like Sonic, and she had to play it and complete it before they were back from their studies. So there was another sort of layer of game mechanic on top of her playthrough, which kind of added that sort of sense of urgency to the game. And she wanted to replicate that and put that into her game, and that's kind of what she's done successfully. You know, the game isn't particularly long. I played through it in one single session, about sort of 2 to 3 hours. It's 4 levels with a boss battle at the end of each level. But you know, like we said, there is a lot of cartridges that you can go and find the hidden collectibles, and then once you find the collectibles, you can change different colors of your Gear Kid console. But it's just, I would say I'd recommend it just for the fact of nostalgia and playing something that's very different. You know, it's a very different game from everything else that's out there right now. It's kind of refreshing. So yeah, I definitely recommend you go and check it out. The other thing I really want to sort of give them credit for as well is for implementing tools for content creators. So for those of us that like make videos or want to stream video content, you know, to you guys and girls, you know, you'll probably know, or maybe not know, but recording with the Rift in particular can be a bit troublesome sometimes. You know, that we really have to sort of mess around with using different tools to make the field of view look nice enough for a video. As I know that others have struggled recently showing the game off because when they've looked down or looked up, you can't see the full console, you know, so which is like the key part of the gameplay. But what the developers have actually done to help us content creators is add a field of view option. So if you press F10 or keyboard, F11 will increase the field of view in game, so when you capture it, it looks way nicer. You can capture way more of the scene and get a feel of what's actually going on around the player. And then F10 will actually replicate the small Game Boy screen and put it in the corner of your window, so you can get a clear view of what's going on the Game Boy as well.
To all VR developers that are listening, like, please implement these kind of options, because it makes your game look so much nicer. If you want your games to be streamed or to be shown on YouTube, implement these kind of things, and it will, I'm telling you, people will love playing it much more like that, and will show your game much better if you just implement these kind of options.
Better advertisement.
It doesn't need to be a lot, like indeed, like if you have already a wider field of view or like some options that for specific game mechanics, that's enough.
But in the end, like, I don't feel like developers are the ones that need to solve this. Of course, if they do it themselves, because if they didn't do this,
but that's the only way to do it.
It would have never happened in the first place. But
the only other developer I've known that's ever done it is Alchemy Labs with Job Simulator and Rick and Morty.
And Rec Room recently did it too.
Yes, no, you're right. Actually, yes, Rec Room did as well. No, you're right. And it's great, but like Oculus should and HTC, you know, well, it's not so much of a problem for HTC because the Vive has such a wild field of view when you capture it anyway. But certainly with Oculus, like if you look at a lot of content out there for like Marvel Powers United, even in the trailer, the footage just looks so awful. Like you just like, how can they publish something like this with such a small field of view? It just looks bad, but it doesn't look bad in the headset, and that's the problem that we face right now. But you know, don't worry, I do mention this to Oculus every time I see them, so they probably get bored of me mentioning this. But I just want to give a props to the developers for implementing it. It's super helpful.
I do see I see a very nice comment here about that thing I was talking about the DK2, you know, and Oculus Share. Someone says, I don't miss the technology, but I miss the creativity that was on display back during the DK1 and DK2 days. So many bonkers and off-the-wall demos and ideas that have never been seen since. Yeah.
It seems like a lot of developers tend to go for the stereotypical gaming tropes.
They have examples now, you know, they have examples of what sells and what doesn't. So they usually kind of need to make a, you know, 50-50 decision on that. Well, back then I was like, you know, if I make something crazier than this person, I'm going to steal the show this time on Oculus Share this month, you know.
Exactly, like with Pixel Ripped, you know, they've made a game that would only work in VR, you know, that would only work in this medium. And the same with Beat Saber as well. Like that game would only work in this medium. And when you create unique games like that, you make your own genres. You're paving the way for other people then, and that's really what we need rather than a
place where developers can, you know, show off their demo or something they made, like students or startups, or where is this now? Like where Oculus Share is gone, where do you go now? Like
maybe we need to create one.
Well, I don't know, but I kind of miss it. I still miss it.
There's one title that that Pixel Ripped really reminds me of, and I don't know if Nathie might remember it. Very, very similar gameplay. So similar to this kind of gaming Inception, where you were playing in front of a screen, like an old kind of TV, and as you played further and further, defeating these rats and stuff in a sewer, sludge would pour out of the ceiling around you. And there were flies and like feces was piling up around you. I mean, this sounds kind of gross, but that was kind of part of the whole thing. And I know that was, again, kind of like early testing days, I've never seen that game come alive again, but I was really keen because I thought the mechanic was really cool. But same era, there's so much from back then that just hasn't seen the light of day again. And
So there is one that used that mechanic, and that was The Lost Bear. I don't know if you've ever played that game, but that was a 2D platforming game in a virtual environment. So when it was raining in the 2D world, it was raining in the virtual environment, which was a nice immersion sort of adding feature.
I remember adding it to my to-do list, never got around to it. I'll have to get back
cool
to
one.
that
It's
one.
fairly short, but again, a cool one to check out for sure. But in terms of Pixel Ripped, the developer Anna also stated in a recent interview that she's looking at expanding and making future games using this concept. She's talking about maybe other years, other sort of genres like 1978 Atari days, 1983 arcade sort of era, 1995 Super Nintendo, and then 1999 Mario 64. And at the very end of the game, they do tease that as well. So if you finish the game, you'll unlock a little Easter egg to check those little avatars out. Cool. But if you're interested in checking the game out, it's available on Steam, Oculus, PSVR for $18.99 in British pounds, $24.99 in US dollars, and it gets a recommendation from me.
Cool.
From us, we all enjoyed it. So the last bit of sort of news this week is VR speedrunning. It's kind of like a topic that I've wanted to talk about for some time, but as it's kind of a bit of a slow news week this week, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk about it. But for those of you that have kind of been involved in gaming culture, you're probably aware of this kind of phenomenon in the normal traditional gaming world, and that is speedrunning. Now, what players do is they essentially compete to complete a game as fast as possible. And they normally sort of broadcast it live on Twitch or live on YouTube, or sort of record it in a way to prove what they're actually doing. And like Super Mario Brothers is a classic example. Like, even how old that game is, still people play it to this day to try and compete for the quickest run.
Yeah. Did they also ever kill that one Goomba that is somewhere down in the level that no one seems to be able to go to? That,
I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah, there's like one Goomba that you can't kill in Super Mario 64. Has nothing to do with speedrunning though, but
right. Invincible Goombas.
Yes.
I once saw a guy finishing, I think, Morrowind in like, what was it, like 11 minutes or 7 minutes, the entire game.
Yeah.
Like, which is like insane. Like, I remember watching that one actually.
So you're gonna love this because, like, obviously to do this, you need to be good at games. You need to have super fast reflexes. You need to have played the game like a shed ton, and also you need to be able to find exploits and glitches within the game to take advantage of them to take you to later levels.
So you're allowed to use, because you have several forms of like speed running, and some forms you need to do like the full. You're not allowed. For example, with the Mirror's Edge, you have like this very funny video as well where like people are like exploiting glitches or not, and you're like you're supposed to use certain things, but you're not supposed to do other things as long as the game allows it. But if glitches are allowed, then it can be very fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they specify whether you're allowed to use glitches or not in their gameplay. But they set like world records, and they sort of compete with each other. But this phenomenon has actually come to VR, and you just have to watch it to really understand it, because it is insane to watch. And the big difference is, like, these speedrunners that are actually doing this have to be physically fit, for one, because they're standing up for long periods of time, but they're moving in such ridiculously fast ways to complete these levels that, again, like, you just have to watch it. Like,
you can like, when you watch it, you can even feel the tensity. Like, you see those head moves, like everything is going like, oh, and then like the control, everything is like going all over the place. You can feel nuts. Like the try harding of finishing it the fastest.
Yeah, it's like the opposite to what we do. Like, we try and slow down our head movements in the
like
gameplay to make it
cinematic.
They're just like going crazy all over the place.
Like a lucid dream or something, like a nightmare thing.
Yeah. So there was this guy who he played Lone Echo, and he completed it in 1 hour and 22 minutes. And this is a guy called Dark Tenka. I want to give him credit because he's super cool dude. He does a lot of speedrunning, pancake games, and VR games. But yeah, he completed the game in 1 hour 22 minutes. He does use some exploits, to get around some parts of the later levels. But that game took me like 6 to 8 hours to finish, so I couldn't even imagine like how he did it so quickly. But if you watch him play it, you understand, like, he's moving so incredibly fast and just doing everything like without even thinking about it. But there was also a guy out there who played Super Hot, and he was kind of like throwing guns into the next level. Yep. So he was throwing a gun and then completing the level, and then zooming to the next level, and then catching the gun that you threw in the previous level to complete that level faster. And I was just like,
oh, man,
this is like
a level. That's not a level of beating a game, you know.
There are like parts in Superhot where you can only use a knife, or you need to like punch them. But if you can then always like use the same weapons too.
Yeah. It was insane. So like, I just want to say, like, if you're interested in checking these out, just search for like VR speedrunning on YouTube. You'll see tons of videos. Dark Tanker is one of them. Blue Pajamas is another one. And there's another guy called Bubbles Del Fugo who completed Fallout 4 VR in 48 minutes.
Oh yes, I heard.
Del Fuego.
48 minutes. Yeah.
We got a good comment in the chat though from Watuki. He said, "Oh well, 15 Red Bulls and anyone can be a super player."
But they almost like look superhuman almost. You're like, how are they even doing this? It's like on another level, you know.
I want to see Zim speedrunning Airtone.
Was that the dancing game? Was that the anime dancing game that you played?
Anime dancing game.
That was awesome.
You're on.
That was awesome.
I'll do it.
Okay.
So that is kind of like our last bit of news this week. But finally, I just kind of wanted to wrap up this week's show by talking about, you know, the VR Inside podcast, because this is the last show we're ever going to broadcast under the VR Inside podcast name, and it feels like we're kind of coming to like feels like we're kind of coming to like a little end of an era. But of course we're really excited about, you know, rebranding, you know, starting on our new channel next week. But we'd love to know in the chat, you know, if you've had any favorite episodes over the last few months, favorite things you've liked about the show, things you don't like about the show, and maybe what you're excited about when we come to rebranding. You know, it's been like, what, 9 months, I think, since we started doing this. You know, if you followed from the early days, you know, we had we had Prometheus, we had PSVR Frank as part of the show as well. And we've had some like crazy fun times with them. Like, I don't know if you remember, I just kind of want to talk about this very quickly, but like, if you remember the first couple of episodes of the show, there was one where Frank was part of the show back then. And, you know, Frank's a great guy. He's really entertaining. And because of the time of the show that we were doing it, it was so early in the morning for him. Like, he had just rolled out of bed, like, and he was like smoking a cigarette, almost just finishing a cigarette as we started. And he didn't say hello to his girlfriend in the morning. And then like halfway through the show, she kind of just burst in and was just like, "What the hell are you doing? You didn't even say hello to me this morning." Like, and started swearing at him. He was like, "Dude, I've got to go, like, bye." And just like hung up straight away. It was like the funniest moment I think I've had recording the show.
I think it was the very first, like the test episode that we did. Like,
was it really?
First.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can also remember one where, because Prometheus, his internet wasn't great, so sometimes he like cut out. And there was one moment where you were asking him like, "Hey, Prometheus, how are you doing? You know, and what did you play?" And he was like, his screen was frozen, and we didn't notice it. It was frozen for a while already, but he was just sitting there like, okay, and they were just like looking at, and they were just laughing. Yeah, it was great. But also we had also some great guests, right? I mean, let's be honest here. We had some beautiful episodes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we did a lot of in the early days. We did a lot of developer guests. You know, we had Anthony Stevens from Cloudhead Games talking about you know, the Gallery 2. We had Mark from you know, Elevator to the Moon talking about his game. We even had Nimsoni on the show, you know, talking about Mario. And that guy was a really fun guy. You know, he was so excited to be on the show talking about his games and stuff. So we've had a lot of fun doing it, but it'd be interesting to know, like, if you like developers being on the show. Maybe we'll do more of that when we rebrand. But yeah, we're really excited to be starting the whole thing on the new channel, of course. So, you know, like I said at the beginning, I was just going to say,
Megan saying that she really liked when we read the riddle out that she did for Ready Player One. Did you guys remember that one?
Yeah.
And there are people also asking for the new name of the channel. So it's f.reality, F-reality, and I've also put a link in the chat as well. And you can also find the link in the description box.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go and subscribe to the new channel, because we're not going to be posting on our own channels anymore, not even the re-upload. It's all just going to be on this F-reality channel. So we'll live stream it at the same times, but once the live stream is done, that live stream will go down, and then we'll re-upload it with the best quality audio, which we record separately.
Only the best.
only the best for you guys and girls. But we've got some really exciting stuff to show, right? Like stuff that we've been working on and stuff like that for the brand new show. So I'm really excited to sort of show it off for the first time next week.
Definitely.
Nathan, read out the comment that you're laughing about so hard.
Go on, do it. I'm intrigued.
Okay, so Victor Riddle is asking, Nathy, will there be a Home Alone 4? And do you miss making those films?
Our own very own Macaulay Culkin.
But thanks for like I appreciate the fact. Yeah, I kind of look like it.
I feel like you need to do the iconic like face, you know.
I challenge, like Photoshop me as like the Home Alone guy. You know? Like, no, but I'm also very excited, you know, about like F-Reality, and we're gonna do some new stuff. We're gonna do different stuff. It's definitely going to be way more interesting. I think this was more like a test, right? I mean, we're now
it was
like going for the real thing. Yeah, and it's funny that the first time, I mean, Zim mentioned this, is that the first time we started talking about this whole idea, like together, was at Oculus like Connect or around Oculus Connect 4.
Yeah, exactly. Like as soon as we brought Zim on board, we've been talking about this rebrand. You know, and I think Zim's a great addition to the show. I think that the format that we've got right now is great. I wouldn't want to change it. And I think we've got it set up now where we're in a position that like, yeah, this is what we want to do. And it's kind of interesting that it's almost taken us a year because we're all going to be at Oculus Connect 5 together. So that's going to be really interesting as well. Finally, all meeting up in real life. So I'm sure we'll do something special for that. I don't know, but yeah, it's going to be really, really cool indeed. So we're all very excited to share it with you. But just a reminder,
can we now bury like VR Inside podcast? So anyone has a shuffle or something to
rip. VR
Inside. Everyone type rip in the chat.
Yeah. So if you've got any questions for us, now's a great time to ask it. You know, while I just remind you of the show times again and sort of plug our new channel again. So just a reminder, you can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. The show times aren't going to change when we rebrand. It's just going to be streamed on the new channel, which is, of course, F.Reality. The link is in the description. Make sure you subscribe and click the notification button so you know when we go live. But next week, the 11th of August, will be our very first show from that new platform. So I hope you guys and girls can join us there and we can continue the fun and games from there on out.
Yes. Don't miss it.
So do we have any questions before we wrap this one out?
Everyone is typing rip.
Ripperino.
Rip, zip, tip, and lots of people saying they've been subbing to the new channel and they approve of the name. So
yeah,
awesome.
All good.
Yeah,
great.
It's very original.
We wanted to go with something that's a bit edgy, right? And that's kind of why we chose that name. Something a bit edgy that kind of represents us as a group, because although we're serious about VR, we kind of like to deliver the sort of information about VR in a casual, fun sort of way. A lot of people that talk about the show and really like it sort of describe it as just four guys down the pub talking about something that they're passionate about, which I think is a great credit to us.
With chainsaws.
Yeah.
Yeah, as well. I would, like, if I would be in a pub, I would drink some apple juice. I hope you don't mind.
Apple cider.
That's why we called it Fun Reality, you know? It's fun reality.
Yeah. A lot of people ask actually what the F means.
Yeah, people wonder, right?
What the F stands for.
It can be pretty much everything.
Yeah, it's whatever you want it to be.
Funny, like, guesses.
We've had some cool suggestions, you know.
Yeah.
We've have some people. We have people saying free reality, face reality, fact reality.
Forget reality.
The other F reality.
Yeah.
Or
reality.
A new one, like if there is going to be an F1 game out there for VR, it's like F1 reality. We can dedicate ourselves to F1.
Okay.
Why not?
Okay, so unless we've got any questions, I'll wrap this one up.
Yeah, I think that's about it. We have someone saying fantastic reality.
The end of an era.
End of an era.
The end of an era.
End of an era and the start of a new one. So very
Fortnite reality.
Yeah, that's the big reveal.
Yeah,
so
there we go.
We're just gonna play Fortnite on that channel.
Play Fortnite all day.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get some more subs.
Tell me now. Tell me now.
So it's been a pleasure, hosting this show. VR Inside. So cheers to VR Inside. Looking forward to F Reality, and we'll see you all next week on the new channel. So until then, have a good weekend. Cheers.
Cheers,
See
lads.
you later. Bye bye.
Have a good week in VR, and bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See ya.
Looking brilliant. Beautiful punchline there, Rowdy. Beautiful punchline. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Stop the stream.
Oh, it's.
We're still. Bye.